Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Office Hours number 705. 705. Hey, Rhett, how you doing today?
Man, we just keep getting better with age, don't we? It's like a
We
wine, like
do.
a good fine wine, right? We
I
keep
know
getting
it's just
better.
kind of, yeah, just kind of, it kind of worked really well.
Oh, we're full of ourselves, aren't we?
Oh, we are. It's all good stuff. Yeah. I mean, if we're not going to be full of us, who's going to be?
That's for sure. That is for sure.
Well, folks, we got a good show for you today. David is not going to be making it. David is on the Aspire tour, so he's either in an airplane or on stage. I'm not sure where, but one of those two places most likely. So, what have you been up to? Just real quick.
Man, I've been with a client last week and part of this week, but the last couple of days digging into this TED talk that I've got to give in April, and was out here working with my coach on that, and man, feel pretty inspired the last couple of days. The first part of that process is you get that they beat the shit out of you about the idea, and you get beat up with it, and then you come out of it as feeling really good. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've given two TED talks, so I'm familiar with. It's kind of like I don't want to do that again. No, no, no.
Painful.
Yeah, here it comes. Well, let's see who our first guest is here today. Shawn Fry's coming in. Shawn, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Great to be here. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to be here.
Well, we're thrilled. Business transformation coach and CEO and founder of Legacy Transformation LLC. And you got a new book out that just dropped October of this last year. So it's out for a couple of months now.
Yeah.
And I love the title, Sustained Business Growth. We're going to talk about sustainability here in a minute. Sustained Business Growth, how to lead radical change, overcome adversity, and ignite explosive growth without sacrificing those who matter the most. That's got to be one of the longest taglines I've ever seen on a book.
Yes, yeah, it is, but it's powerful, and it definitely tells part of the story that we can discuss a little bit later. So, yeah,
great. Well, the idea here is, you got destiny in place here, but also the idea of, for me, what's really interesting is sustained business growth. And the way that I've come to actually work with sustainability with the clients that I work with is it's about developing the capacity to continuously start over.
Yes. Yeah, that's good.
So if that's in place, then we got some place to work with, because what does starting over mean, and what's the capacity that's in play here?
Yeah.
And that gets to be real interesting conversation. How do you frame this in the book?
Yeah, so I've been in aerospace, automotive, defense industry, power generation for over 25 plus years, right? So different places. My role is really going into facilities and helping to drive change, positive change, but it's got to be sustainable. In so many places, that culture, that capacity that you're referring to is not necessarily in place in the foundations and the fundamentals, right, for that sustainable growth. So I think that's really, you really got to kind of meet people where they are and build some foundation so it's sustainable. Yeah.
That's good.
So what's the biggest challenge, Shawn? We're in difficult times. A business has always got to operate no matter what. What are some of the bigger challenges you see? If you took your crystal ball out in the next 5 years, what should we be looking for because I think business is probably going to get tougher. Technology is changing things. Leadership is different now. Our systems on how we operate are evolving. Talk about that a little bit, and do you talk about that in the book?
Oh, you bet. So honestly, I think one of the biggest challenges, and I know it's probably overstated in many ways, but it really is so true, is the mind, right? The mindset of having the right, I call it in the book, and by the way, it is sustained business growth, but peak state of mind, right? So how do I make sure that I maintain that peak state of mind so I can lead myself well and I can lead others well, right? So I think that's really key. And just really building, I think successful leaders the best leaders that I've been, around, as well as what I've learned, is the ones that can really pivot and build systems that are adaptable and can change, right, with the time, with the market, and be agile to do that, right? So I think that is, you talked about the systems. Craig Groeschel, I think, once said is, we don't necessarily rise to the level of our goal, we fall to the level of our systems, right? So I think that's a really key point.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole idea of designing. I used to do an exercise with groups. I did this with a group of bankers at the World Bank years ago. Had them just kind of say, I want you to make a paper airplane. So everybody knows how to make a paper airplane. They make the paper airplane and say, okay, now the objective here is to fly that paper airplane about 15 meters. Let's just make it 5 meters. We'll make it 5 meters, 15 feet.
Yeah.
I'll hit that target. And I don't want you to just hit the wall. I want you to hit a spot on the wall.
Yes.
Go. Nobody hits the spot on the wall. Nobody hits the target. And then the question becomes, from a leadership perspective, what's the most important role on that airplane? If it was a real airplane, what's the most important role? Pilot, co-pilot, engineer, navigator, the fuel mechanic. All kinds of stuff comes up. Almost nobody mentions the role of the designer. Because if that airplane is not designed to hit that target, I don't care how good your pilot is, you're going to crash into a mountaintop.
Oh, man. Yeah, you are so correct.
So that whole question of design, how do you actually land that well with your clients?
Yeah. So that's definitely resonating with me right now as I'm living through, some facilities that working to turn around, that kind of thing. Is just simply, and again, this is more manufacturing, but the principles, concepts can definitely apply across different industries. But if you go back to the design, right? So we have a lot of parts that don't necessarily fit right. And you have to, grind and change and modify, that kind of thing. And so it costs extra time and money, right? And then naturally it affects the schedule, the budget, and on and on and on. So I think it's really going back to, well, how do I design, or how do I begin with the end in mind for success, right? And how do I do that with the least amount of waste? So it really does kind of go, we call it the left shift. So I'm actually in the defense industry right now. So we say left of the boom. So it's, yeah. So
there you go. Good. Sustainablebusinessgrowth.com or sustainedbusinessgrowth.com. That's the URL that people can go to find out more about what you're up to, I'm assuming.
Yes, that is correct. So www.sustainedbusinessgrowth.com. Definitely offer some free resources there, cash flow survival, as well as, alignment tools, and a little bit of AI tools. So yeah, so that's something that definitely some free resources to check out.
All right. Shawn, I know David wants to have a conversation with you as well, so we will have you back on office hours when he's available. But I've loved, and Rhett, I'll let you weigh in on this as well. I'll speak for you here. We've loved having you on the show, and thank you for what you're bringing in.
No, it's great to be here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's nice to meet both of you, Blaine and Rhett. So
you bet.
Thanks, Shawn. Okay, and you can speak for me anytime you want to, Blaine. That's okay.
I love that notion of design. I've always been fascinated by it. One of my oldest clients was IDEO, the design firm, and they designed the mouse. They were the ones that designed the mouse, and just all kinds of stuff. If you've got an electric toothbrush, they designed that too. But just this idea of design, and if it's not designed well, you got all of a sudden a round peg in a square hole, and you're trying to make things work.
No, we see that all the time in business, right? I mean, you've consulted and coached people all the time, and that is so true. If you don't have the right systems in place, as you scale and grow, or as you it falls apart. Yeah.
Oh, boy, is that the truth? Yeah. And Shawn mentioned mindset. And our next guest here, Mitch Russo. Why don't you come on up, Rhett? There, Mitch, you're here. Okay, good. The idea of mindful guidance, I think, is a very interesting way to do this. Mindful guidance. I like the way that you position those two words together. How do you actually, Mitch? First of all, just talk a little bit about what you're up to, but then how do these two words come to get joined together?
Sure. So first of all, thank you for inviting me, and glad to be here. There's some kind of music. Is that coming from my side, or I don't know. I'm not. I,
That's,
anyway.
that's on
Oh,
Rhett. Yeah,
okay.
he's in a
Uh,
public space right now.
oh, okay. No problem. So that became my corporate logo, Mindful Guidance LLC, back in 2009 when I was brought in to run the Tony Robbins organization with Chet Holmes.
Yeah.
So together, the three of us built Business Breakthroughs International, and I needed a corporate entity. Um, I said to Chet Holmes, who was my partner with this
Right.
process, and I said, "Hey, I need a corporate entity," and he goes, "Yeah. Why don't you just name it who you are?" I said, okay, sounds good. And I just wrote down Mindful Guidance, and that was it, and it stuck. But since then, that name has proven to be something that I've lived up to. I think, even with the books that I've written, my latest book is called Sacred Prophets, and Sacred Prophets is all about using mindfulness and meditation to dominate business and sales. So,
All right. I love that. You know, you mentioned Chet. I had his daughter who runs the company now on my solo business podcast not too long ago. And it's just fascinating how, you know, and again, I kind of go back to that mindfulness piece, you know, how she intentionally has, you know, kind of moved away from, Chet's legacy and has established her own, not that got tossed out. It certainly hasn't, but it's, you know, if you look at business growth and sustainability over time, yeah, that's a large part of what we're doing with that. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, we were primarily focused on training, coaching, consulting, and we had a very specific model. We used radio ads to drive as many as 6,000 phone calls a week into a virtual call center. And from that virtual call center, we were able to achieve about an 11% close rate on inbound calls on a one call close.
wow.
So we had perfected that whole engine. We had perfected the radio ads, the scripts for closing, and then of course all of the pieces that go to flow together. So while we would close a $239 sale, our lifetime value is about $11,700 because again we had all the pieces in place.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I also want to chat with you about Power Tribes because I'm fascinated by that book. And you know, talk about how you can expand, because I work with coaches and I'm a coach myself, and talk about certification programs and how you can use those kind of programs to really, I know you were just talking about it a little bit, how that can be done, but talk about that a little bit. Talk about that book, because I thought that was a fascinating read.
Sure. Well, first of all, it all started with a problem I had that I needed to solve. And that problem goes way back to the 1980s when I built a software company. And we were selling far more than, by the way, I'm not complaining about this problem, but we were selling far more software than we could possibly support. And so eventually I needed to find a quote unquote creative solution to help my clients. And by chance, I ended up calling a power user of our product and asked her if she wouldn't mind traveling across town to help another customer. And she said yes. And it was a big deal. It saved us a huge headache because this was a very influential person. And then afterwards, she called me back and she said, "Oh, turned out great. You're not going to believe what happened." I said, "What's that?" She gave me $100 bill. I said, "Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm thrilled to hear that." Then she said the words that changed my life. She said, "And if you ever need help with any other customer, you let me know." And it was like my brain exploded at that point. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, imagine if I had 2 or 3, maybe 20 or 50, maybe 100 of her all over the country. Well, fast forward about 18 months later, we had 350 of those certified consultants all over the country. We were referring clients to them. They were helping clients. They were making money. We charged for certification. They became our third largest sales channel. So certification to this day is one of the most viable, practical ways to build a sales force, really without paying them to do the work. In fact, they pay you to be certified. So
Now, what's interesting about this to me is, certification programs, most people equate that to coach certification.
right.
And what I'm hearing here is that it's not necessarily just coaches that get certified. You're certifying a whole different genre, tribe, if you will. So
Yeah.
it's applicable to businesses of any stripe.
It is, and I mean, and my company has helped probably a dozen different verticals with certification. And here's the key: the bottom line is that coaches, for example, when they buy certification, what they're getting for $5 or $8 or $10 or $12,000 is a framed certificate, 8x10, that they could put on the wall right behind their Zoom camera, and that's fine, except they still don't make any money with it. And what I discovered the hard way is that if you don't teach people or help them generate clients, then their certification is useless. And if their certification is useless, next year they won't renew.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did is we put a business model in place that would allow people to use our tools to create new customers. And then next year, when we told them, well, it's another $5,000 to get certified again, they were happy to pay because they had access to an entire network of tools and resources they would never have available.
That's brilliant. Love it. Good. Where can people find out more about what you're up to? I know that coachelevation.com is one place, but I also see up in the screenshot here, Mitch Russo's 360.com. Is either one of those applicable or both of them?
Mitch Russo 360.com is where all of my stuff is. And I think someone just popped up my web address, which is mitchrusso.com. Thank you, Georgiana. So bottom line is anybody can go to mitchrusso.com and there's 550 blog posts, interviews, and articles on that site. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for anybody who is interested.
Beautiful. Well, Mitch, we appreciate you being on the show. Sorry that David isn't here. We didn't mention this to you on the front end here, but he's on an Aspire tour right now and apologizes for not being present. But we will have you back on the show when he's present because he's going to have some great questions for you.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you. Good stuff.
Man,
I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten certified and then just was like he was saying, it just kind of like, okay, what do I do with that now? Well, people ask me, yeah, I've been certified, but there was never a business model behind it. It was just get the paper.
Yes. How many letters do I have behind my name that mean absolutely nothing now? Right.
Nothing. Yeah. So, well, our next guest has got no numbers or letters behind his name, but I think we're going to find that there's some stuff here that we can work with. And the acronym I'm going to play with is WGA, the Warrior Golf Academy. Warrior Golf Academy. So Jonathan Sessa. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing today?
Couldn't be better. Thank you.
Oh, terrific. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I want to say I appreciate it. I know I heard David's out traveling. I'm down here, and I was hoping maybe I would get the chance to meet up with him here in South Florida, but he's a busy individual.
Yeah, he was down there, I think, yesterday, if I'm not somewhere around there. But if you're in Boca Raton, I can't think of a better place to be playing golf.
Well, that's it. That's kind of the reason for being here. So a little bit about myself. I'll give you guys my story. I moved around a lot as a child. My dad just took job opportunities and with that we moved. So I don't have any lifelong friends and things like that. I was always used to just getting thrown out there every 2 years, go make new friends. And it made it very easy for me to just approach people and make a relationship, right? And build something from nothing. So I got very used to that. And that kind of helped for the rest of the life and set everything up when I started working. I went to college and wasn't really the thing for me at the time. I joined the military at 25 years old. And from there, my first duty station was South Korea. And that was super interesting. So I was up there by the DMZ and was there 15 months, 16 months, so about a year and a half. And it was established kind of my whole military career based upon what happened there. And it was just a lot of alcohol, man, like a lot of drinking. And now come to find, I see the same thing in golf too. They say the Wasted Tour, right? And they have all these nicknames for it, and the crowds are getting more rowdy and wild and younger. And when you turn it into a party scene, that's okay, but everyone's got to leave. Right? And that's where the problem lies, is that people don't think about those after effects of it. So once I was in the military, I got stopped for a DUI while I was in, and that kind of ruined everything in my career that I had built, and it was a terrible time. So I went through some really, really dark phases after deployments and being with leading some different soldiers that had some other issues and would end up committing suicide. Those are the types of things that you don't forget. It's not too bad when it happens to somebody else and that you're not too aware of in the downrange and you're fighting bad people. But then when you're happens and it's so close to home, that's, so I sulked on that for a long time when I got out on what could I have done? What could I have done more? And when I was in New York, I remember I was sitting in the house. It was snowy outside. It was terrible. I was cold, was drinking a ton. Life had just spiraled down. I had nowhere else to go. And I thought and tried to take my life. Right. And when that happened, the gun just clicked instead of firing. And that click, was a lifesaver. It kind of just changed everything for me. So from there, I kind of looked at I need to rebuild. I broke down completely. Same thing like in the military, you're supposed to go there for boot camp to get broken down all the way so they can rebuild you up. So, I was at a low point, and there was all these services that I wasn't
taking advantage of.
Well, it's not even that. It's just that I use the analogy that here in South Florida, everyone wants to be the islands, right? You got the Florida Keys. They're so beautiful, and everyone wants to be one of those, but nobody wants to be the bridge. I'll be that 7-mile bridge that goes over the water. I'm sturdy, I'm stable, I got you. And I want to be that inspiration of hope for other people, especially when it comes to golf. So I created, got out of the military and moved to Costa Rica. I lived there for 3.5 years and just played golf in the morning, met with the community and taught English in the evening. And I started reading the Bible again, getting in there. So all three of those things, the combination of God, golf, and community is what really brought me back. And I saw within me that people need a purpose and a sense of belonging, right? If you can provide those two things, then you have somebody that wants to live. They want to wake up the next day to go do what they want to do. And that's what we're trying to inspire people to do. So really anything to get outside of the house. So I was there, played golf all the time, met with the community, had a blast. I met my wife there, and we decided, well, let's go to South Florida and let our daughter, who's 15, so my stepdaughter, let her take advantage of high school. We want to give her the best opportunity in life. So we were like, South Florida is close to Costa Rica. It's like a 3-hour flight and like a couple of bucks. So no problem. We came here and I established Warrior Golf Academy after working at a couple of golf clubs and going through the PGA program, which I'm still in. So I'm still a student of it. But I found coming into that world that it's almost like any other job, right? You have your tight-knit group of people, and that's like your family and whatever you do. It could be HR, it could be CEOs of companies, and you always got these groups. And trying to find that after service where you fit in was very, very difficult. So golf was that therapy for me. And I created SOPs, manuals, onboarding procedures, everything for every job position there is in the golf industry, and decided to say, hey, instead of just teaching people how to play golf, I can teach you how to caddy. I can teach you how to club repair. I can teach you how to volunteer at these. If you just want to come and be like a player assistant or a ranger and drive around the course, if you want to come out in the morning and help reset pins and move the markers and all that stuff for the day, then I can help you. And then the benefit is you get free golf out of that.
Yeah,
So
that's a good benefit. That's a good benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rhett, you got a question here? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got to jump, but I'm unfortunately I have a call that I can't get it changed. But this is fascinating, Jonathan, and I applaud your work with veterans and working with trying to solve the PTSD issue and the work that you're doing. I just think, that's a very noble. That's a very noble thing, man, because we've got a lot of people that need that help, and I think golf can be a big help in that. So anything I can do to support you, please let me know. And unfortunately,
Sure.
I got to jump off, Wayne, but Jonathan, I look forward to another conversation with you at some point. Thank you.
Oh, Rhett, it was a pleasure. I'll see you.
Good. And there we go. Okay,
All right.
Jonathan, you're still here. Okay, good. I didn't want you to go without me saying goodbye.
Yeah. Didn't leave just yet. No, you can't get rid of me that easy.
Good. That's good. Well, the idea of golf, I mean, you mentioned purpose and community and golf, and those three. And I was struck just real briefly here with the notion that people organize around two primary questions in life: who am I and where do I belong?
Mm-hmm.
And it strikes me that what you're doing with Warrior Golf is beginning to answer those two questions, or at least making it possible for those two questions to get answered in a way that is generative rather than destructive.
Oh, I like that. So I definitely want to reach out. The hardest thing that I'm running into now is just awareness, right? And that's why I jump on these podcasts. I'm started doing social media stuff and getting that out there. LinkedIn has been great. I met a lot of terrific professionals from that platform, but it's not enough, right? I don't want to say everybody, because there are many people that are willing to help. Just nobody's utilizing golf as a therapeutic means.
Yeah.
And the benefits of golf, of being outside in nature, you're being around other people, it's well manicured, you're grounded, and you can really focus. I mean, you play golf maybe 10 minutes of the whole round, and the rest of the time you're just in the cart hanging out, or you're walking and talking. And that's where the relationships happen, right?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And you build upon that, and you can create that sense of belonging then. And there's people that look forward to the Tuesday group that plays every Tuesday, and they go, oh, I'm looking forward for this. I'm going to come in every day. And then if you have multiple groups, which I just reference people out to, help you get initiated and make sure you're comfortable, one-on-one lessons with people. And I will say, hey, Blaine, what's the closest golf course to you? And then you would tell me, I would go there, introduce you to the club pro. That way you have a nice introduction to who's there. And then we can practice on their range and their facility. So that way you're well aware of where everything is. Some people don't even know if they're like, oh, he's back at the putting green.
There you go.
What? I mean, I had a guy come, and he's never played golf. He just showed up to support the foundation and the fundraising. And when he showed up, the people were like, yeah, he's just out there by the range. And the guy's like, I don't
bring him in.
What are you talking about? Yeah, like where? Like, so I think just having this awareness around everything that we can help out and get more people involved is really the biggest battle.
Well, you can find out more about what Jonathan's up to at warriorgolfacademy.com. There you go. Hey,
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this will go, goes up on all kinds of different feeds. So we're going to increase the awareness here. And as we mentioned with the other two guests, I mean, obviously David's not here today, but we'll have you back on the show again when he is available. Because
terrific.
He loves to play golf. Yeah. I mean, they're really, taking it to heart. Yeah. I used to do a program years ago called Leadership, Life, and Golf. And I would take my clients out on the course, and we had a PGA pro working with us. But that idea of, how I play golf is how I live my life in a lot of ways. There's a lot of truth to that. So
there is. You gotta really focus, and it's a mental state, just like life is, right? I like to also say the only thing that people can't take away from you is your attitude, right?
Yep.
So with that, you can make sure that you can control how you feel. Don't let anybody else. I mean, of course they're going to affect it, but overall you can't let that get to you. So live your life, be centered. And I appreciate being on here, Blaine. Thank you so much for having me. Check me out online, please. LinkedIn, you can get a hold of me, warriorgolfacademy.com, or check me out at Warrior Golf Academy on Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you for being such a great guest. Take care.
Of course.
Okay, folks, we've been listening to Rhett Power and myself, as proxies for David this week. Office hours number 705. Thank you for listening, and you can see the little Sharon down below here. Got a leadership mindset mastermind program. 12. I'm not going to go into this. You can scan the QR code or just go to the URL, but it's a year-long mastermind program that my partner Dolan White and I run. We do 2 of these a year. They're capped at a certain number. Right now, we've got a waiting list for the next one. So if you're interested in enhancing and improving your leadership effectiveness, and the key here is, how do you scale your business to that next level? It's not about being better. It's about transforming your leadership. It's about transforming yourself. So that's what we're looking at doing with this mastermind. Tomorrow is Friday, and I believe, and Gigi, you can correct me if I'm off on this, but Friday morning, there you go, 9 a.m. Eastern time, David's free training. So don't miss that. 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific time. And folks, thank you for listening. David thanks you, Rhett thanks you, and I certainly thank you. You take care and have a great rest of your week.